So you guys just saw my top set on squats from this past week. It was 275 kilos or 606 pounds for 5 reps. Decided to do reps for my top set this week and felt pretty good. Had another rep or two in the tank, I'd say. Moved pretty solidly. Depth was pretty solid. All around happy with how it was, and especially because on the day I wasn't feeling the best. My warm-ups weren't moving super fast. I was even thinking like, okay, I'll just go for 3 if I'm not feeling that good. But then after the 3rd rep, I was like, you know what? I'm pretty sure I can do 5 pretty conservatively, so let's go for it, and went well. So, on to the topic of today's video. Do I take steroids? The answer is no, I don't take steroids. I don't take SARMs. I've never taken any form of performance-enhancing drug. And I wanted to make this video because I know Clarence Kennedy recently made a video about drug testing and drug use in lifting, and I think he talked about other sports. I'll be honest, I didn't watch the video, I probably should have, but from what I gather is he had a really pessimistic, and he didn't really think that people in the elite levels of drug tested sports are actually natural, from what I hear. Sorry if I'm misquoting you, but I have to say, at least my 2 cents, that I disagree, at least in powerlifting, and I have several reasons why. So the first is just how good the testing is, at least in countries like Canada and the US. I've heard of other countries like India with really poor testing standards from their lifters firsthand, how they like have 10 drug tests a year and every single person fails. But that's like 10 drug tests is tiny. Versus somewhere like here in Canada, my experience firsthand, as a top-level lifter in the IPF, that is the drug-tested side of powerlifting, I have to tell them every 3 months where I'm going to be for those 3 months, where I'm going to be sleeping at night. If I have any regular activities like work or school, I have to tell them where I'm going to be every day. If something comes up on the day and I'm going to be somewhere where I wasn't planning to be, I have to tell them too. If I'm going to be traveling, I have to tell them so that they can just test me at any time. And in the past 6 months, I've been randomly drug tested 3 times. I have some of my paperwork here. I don't know if this is going to come through on camera, but yeah, where I film my videos is where I have my drug test too. And they just show up and I have to pee in a cup for them. There's a dude watching me with my dick in my hand so he can see that I'm actually the one making the urine. I don't have like some secret tube in me. I've heard of people trying to do that. And then usually there's a blood test too, so they take some blood draw from my arm, and then yeah, those drug tests are very stringent and hard to avoid. So if you're trying to plan when you're going to take drugs, like, you really can't plan because the drug test can happen anytime. And I've had 2 of those come within a month's time. So like, if you're thinking, oh, I've got a few months now because they just did me, like, no, it can just happen again very soon after. And there's been top-level IPF lifters who have failed their drug tests, which I think, yeah, it does show that there are some people using drugs at the top level, but I think it just shows that, like, you're going to get caught if you do it. Like Kelly Branton, he's a top Canadian lifter who got caught using performance-enhancing drugs. And he'd been tested twice in a 13-day span or something like that. So it's a very quick turnaround. He wasn't expecting it. He just thought he was safe, but they caught him, and it's very effective. And the tests themselves are very good at detecting drug use. So this is a story from a friend of mine. He took a study drug, something like 5 months before his competition. He used it to study for exams. He just used it once, you know, it's not like he's a regular user building up a huge level in the system, and it contained a banned stimulant, I believe. And anyways, months later at his competition, they detected levels of the drug in his system. Luckily for him, it was below the threshold level for it to be an offense, so he got off without penalty, but it just shows how powerful the tests really are. So, not just talking about the testing itself, but in powerlifting, you have half the sport that doesn't drug test, and that includes at an elite level. And other sports they don't really have that. Like, I can't really think of any other sport other than bodybuilding and strongman that doesn't really test at an elite level. And for me, that just goes to show like how possible it really is for there to be a drug-free environment at the top level, because there's an option if you want to use drugs. And I think for the most part, people stick to it. And there's a couple of reasons why I believe that. First off, there's a study. It wasn't by Greg Nuckols, but he went over it. I'll link it below in the description. But he talked about how when you adjust for the body weight gains from using steroids, so you're looking at your strength level relative to your body weight, it's about a 10% difference. And I won't go into the specifics of it. I'll just let the article do the explaining. It can do a much better job than I can. But basically, when you look at powerlifting records, drug tested versus non-drug tested, it's about a 10% gap. And that, to me, is really good evidence that, for the most part, people really do stick to the drug-free if they're drug-free. And people who are on drugs, they compete untested. And on top of that, I just know firsthand people who have been elite lifters in IPF, and then they've decided they want to do drugs, and they do it, and yeah, they get to an elite level, drug-free, and then the levels they got to once they started taking drugs, very obvious, they made progress. And yeah, it's about a 10% difference. Like, I think it's very clear, at least in my mind, that a lot of people who say they're drug-free in the IPF, in powerlifting, they really are. So that's basically all my thoughts on the video. Are people who say they're natural. I think in powerlifting, at least, for the most part, they are. So if you guys liked the video, please like it, comment, share it, subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks for watching. Actually, one more thing before the end of the video. I didn't really talk about myself much. Evidence for why I'm natural. So if you don't believe me already, this is my arm. Look how big my arm is. If you think that somebody can take steroids and get arms as small as this, I honestly think that's more impressive than lifting the weights I do at my body weight naturally. So if you still think I'm on drugs, I honestly think you have a prime number of chromosomes.